Let's go ahead and get started. As an agenda for everyone today, I'm going to run through some intro slides here just so we can get a general idea of what Cin7 is, how we help your business, and then from there we're going to run through a product demo. At that point, I'll give you an agenda of what we'll look at within the product as well. Just to start off today, I'd like to give a brief introduction to Cin7. One of our main goals is to help you manage less, sell more, and connect everything. So we'll kind of start at maybe where some of us are today within the business, struggling with some traditional inventory management. We can probably relate to things like working on spreadsheets, experiencing some manual overload, maybe some user errors when it comes to inventory. We may be managing inventory in an older system, something that was set up maybe 20 years ago by two or three people who managed the business before us. Something we've found is that that traditional or that older style of inventory management kills your growth. The main goal of businesses today is typically to scale, to get larger, sell more product, bring in more revenue. So we see that some of those traditional inventory management styles not allowing us to scale as we would like to. A lot of us can probably relate to some of the things on this slide here. We mentioned manual overload if we're maybe dealing with something like spreadsheets, high error rates if we've got quite a few people from our team going into those spreadsheets trying to keep track of inventory. Things like cash flow waste, we're spending money overstocking goods, we're spending money on team members, spending extra time to manage inventory, and then some of our other things here, low visibility, growth feels impossible. Scale, as we grow, we get more complexity. It's harder to adjust when we're using some of those manual systems. So this might be where we're starting today and possibly why we're seeking a solution, something like Cin7, help us manage inventory, have less of that manual overload, and really enable growth and scalability of the business. That's really the goal of Cin7 is to reduce all of those things that we saw on the last slide and then connect all of your inventory, your e-commerce, accounting, and shipping platforms. So we really like to be the guy in the middle who's managing your inventory. We also work as a order management source, and we do connect to accounting systems as well to make sure that we can get your financials in line too. So you can see here some of the things included. Sales efficiency, OMS, we can help you report on your sales, manage them when it comes to fulfillment and accounting, integrating everywhere. We've got a large host of connections. Some of our common ones are Shopify and ShipStation, QuickBooks Online and Xero. We also have connections like Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Etsy, quite a few others when it comes to things like CRM, with HubSpot as well. So I'll reference some of those connections as we move through the demo, through the different modules where they're relevant. Really the goal here, to connect your whole tech stack, make it a lot more seamless for your teams, so you're spending less time on inventory and getting the benefit of easy scalability. An additional feature that we have, just on top of our basic inventory management, order management processes, we did recently integrate a demand planning module into the system. So if you'd like some help with generating a forecast, using that forecast to do some demand planning as far as production and purchasing goes, we want to be able to help you with that. We've recently released Foresight AI, chooses quite a bit of machine learning, about over 100 different algorithms and a sprinkle of AI in there to give you a forecast based on your sales history that comes from Cin7, and then enable you to do some purchasing. Again, reducing the man hours there of someone actually going in, calculating something like a forecast. So at this point, we've got at least a general idea of what Cin7 is here to do. We understand we want to get you away from some of those manual inventory management tasks that you may be doing now, get you onto a platform that's going to automate and help you scale a lot of those. So we've talked in theory. Let's head over to the demo, actually take a look at the product. As a note for my participants, we do have a Q&A feature. So if I'm running through a module and there's maybe something that you're curious about that I haven't covered, feel free to pop it into that Q&A section. I do have one of my colleagues, Hillary, here, so she's going to help me to field some of those questions. Go ahead and pop over into the product. So we're going to do a high-level run-through today. We've got about 22 minutes left on the webinar. To give you an agenda, I usually like to start over in the inventory section. We'll take a look at products, availability, sort of the basis of products in our system. From there, we'll talk about how do we bring some of those goods in? How do we do purchasing? What does our system manage when it comes to purchases? We'll do a brief overview on production and the different production options that we offer. We'll talk about sales, how we get those in and fulfill those, and then wrap it out with some reporting and some accounting references as well. Feel free, as we're going, pop any of those questions in the chat for me into that Q&A function. I am going to break out this side navigation just so we can see some of our options here. We talked about with our agenda inventory, purchase, sales, production into reports. We also do have a light CRM. We won't cover this too much today, but just to let you know, it does track leads and opportunities into customers and sales. There are also some tasks that can be associated there. So if you need a light CRM, we do offer that. We do have a reporting suite we'll take a look at the end of the call. Works based off of pivot tables, gives you access to that information at all times. And then our integrations area. This is where we host all of those click to connect integrations. I mentioned some of them like Shopify, ShipStation, QBO. That's going to be our full library if you're ever curious to go and browse what we offer. We also do have that library available on our website as well. So heading into our first topic, we'll head over into the product section, get a good basis for products living in the system. We will store all of your SKUs that you'd like to track inventory for. So if you've got raw materials, finished goods, assets, essentially anything that needs inventory tracked, we'll house in this product section. Couple ways that we get that in easy for you. We can download these products from something like an e-commerce site. So if you've got these products on a Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, makes it easy just to bring those into our system. Otherwise, we do have an easy CSV import option. Pretty common. We'll give you a template. You fill that out. Makes it pretty easy to get those products in. Looking at the products themselves, quite a few details that we track here. Standard fields like SKU and product name. Some fields that enable things like reporting with categories and tags. And then some more advanced features like bill of materials. We mentioned talking about production. Do have quite a bit of production options in the system when it comes to kitting and bundling. If we sell maybe virtual bundles, if we actually pre-pack bundles and sell those, maybe variety packs, holiday packs as we're getting into that time of the year. And then also for things like true production, whether we're doing production ourselves, we'd like to track it more simple or more advanced. We also do contract manufacturing. So when it comes to bill of materials, quite a bit that we track there. I'm going to take a look at our Q&A quick. Can we create multiple stores in multiple countries within the same company? We absolutely can. Now, my question would be if that's related to something like e-commerce. Are we thinking about an Amazon US, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada? We absolutely do connect with those stores in other countries. We do also have a multi-currency setup within our system. So if you'd like us to handle some exchange rates, whether it's on the purchase or the sales side, we do account for those. And we are a global company. So we have lots of different regions of the globe that are using our software. See, I'll just double check that. No, it would be physical stores. Oh, we can account for physical stores in multiple countries. So that might be actual brick and mortar stores. It could just be warehouse locations. Like maybe you have a contract manufacturer overseas. You might have physical stores overseas. No problem with that since we have the multi-location and multi-currency setups. Great question, Victoria. Finishing out products here. We've talked about some of those general fields. We've talked about storing bill of materials. A couple other notes that I like to make are our different costing methods. Typically, we see a first in, first out costing method. We sometimes can allow for first expiration, first out if we're dealing with expiring products, cosmetics, food, things like that. We also have a special method, which is you get to choose. Doesn't have to be FIFO or FIFO. Really what these options enable is since we're tracking your cost through purchases, we're tracking your dispatch through FIFO or FIFO, we get a really accurate cost of goods sold with these products. Since we have serial and batch tracking as well, we have full traceability of your products. If you'd like to track batch numbers, serial numbers, we will note those when they come in, track all of their movements through the system, note them as they go out so that you've got full traceability for those. So we've really been seeing quite a bit of like beverage, food companies really enjoying that batch tracking feature. Last things here with products before we take a look at availability. We do track both sides of pricing. So any supplier pricing that you have, whether it's one or multiple suppliers, we can track those and any of their costs. On the flip side, we track prices as well. So up to 10 price tiers, which can be assigned to your customers, make sure that they get the right pricing if we're doing sales in Cin7. We do offer some custom pricing as well. So if like our ops manager's uncle gets like a super good price on the products that he likes, we can have custom pricing here as well. Quite a few other options within products here as we can see. For the sake of time today, I'm going to go and head over to availability. We'll make the note. If there are any fields here that we do not track that you would like to track, we can always create custom fields. So if we need any additional things specific to your business, specific to your industry, absolutely can track those. I'll head over into availability, working off of those product SKUs so we can see some of our stock numbers. We do have a multi-location setup within our system, so as many warehouses as you need to track, we can track those and make sure that we have stock split by location. Within those, we can have things like bins if you'd like to get more granular with how you split that up. And then, of course, giving you visibility into any of those batch and serial numbers or expiration dates we referenced before. Couple different stock figures that we track. We use your on-hand value, which is what you physically have in your warehouse. Combined with your allocated number, we calculate that based on how many open sales or production that product is assigned to. Calculate your available number. What do we have on hand minus what has already been reserved on sales and manufacturing gives us what's available to sell. When we connect to your e-commerce stores, we automatically send that number up so that you always have that perpetually correct inventory in your e-commerce site. We can account for things like buffer stock there as well if needed. If we'd like to have a buffer, maybe we have 100, we only want to display 90, let's set a buffer of 10. Couple other figures here. On order shows us what's coming in on purchase orders, and we may be able to see a next delivery date. In transit shows us what is coming in through transfer orders. Since we do have the multi-location setup, we can track what's going from one warehouse to another. Really gives us visibility into what's in transit, what's at one location versus the other at any time. And since we are a cloud-based system, this is always updating. As soon as you receive a purchase order, we get our stock in, that gets sent up to your e-commerce site. So always a live view of your inventory from here. Couple nice features. If we click on these numbers, like say our allocated number, I can see exactly where that stock is allocated to. So it looks like I've got maybe a transfer or an assembly that's going into that I've reserved it for. Same thing with our on-hand. We can see some details about that on-hand stock. Beautiful. So we've got a good foundation in the system now. We know how we get our products in, how those live. Got some bill of materials options in there if we want production. And then we know how our product availability lives, what our visibility looks like when it comes to stock numbers. From here, let's actually purchase in some goods. We'll head over into our purchasing section. We will store all of your purchase orders in the system, whether it's ones that you create. We can hit the plus button here and fill out who's our supplier, what are we ordering. Can also import that via CSV if we'd like to do quite a bit at once. Otherwise, we did mention we do have those demand planning features now. So if you'd like the system to tell you what to purchase based on a forecast or your planned sales, we can automatically generate these for you as well. Save some time when it comes to manual entry or actually calculating what you need to order. Those forecasts that we generate are editable by you. So you're never locked down to say you can only purchase what we tell you to. We've got some flexibility there if you'd like to make some edits. Going to check our Q&A. It looks like we're all caught up. Going to head into a purchase order so we can get a brief glimpse of what it looks like. 3 things I like to talk about when it comes to purchasing. Do we account for landed cost? How do we receive? And then how do we get this information over to our accounting system? So looking at the purchase order here, I've got all my supplier details at the top. We store all of your suppliers and their information in the system so you can see your purchase history. Options here for stocking first or invoicing first, depending on the workflow with our supplier. As we scroll down, we get our order stages, receiving, invoicing, and then the actual order itself with any products and additional costs here. If you'd like, when we create this purchase order, we do have some great emailing and printing functions if you'd like to send this out from our system. I'll now cover those three topics we mentioned. First, covering landed cost. We always want to account for any landed cost you have for your goods, whether it's shipping and fees that you may pay directly to the supplier or shipping and fees you may pay to somebody else. Either way, we have ways to account for that landed cost. Really, the goal there is that we want an accurate cost of goods sold. We want all of those costs to go up into the value of these goods that you're purchasing. So accounting for those landed costs at the end of the day gives us that really good COGS. We do have some great articles on landed costs as well. So if you're curious, we do have a public help site. It's got some articles there that go through the various ways that we can account for landed costs. There's like 2 or 3 of them. Our accounting team tends to love those options. So we can always send those over, get you some links if you're interested. Feel free to reach out to our teams after the call. Last topics here. How do we receive stock? We can either do that on the back end here. If I'm a manager, come in and type in my batch numbers, expiration dates if necessary, and authorize this. Takes about 3 clicks. If we want people to be scanning on the floor, we also do have a warehouse management app as well. So a mobile app you can download through the Apple or Google Play Store. You bring it up on a phone or a tablet. That enables your teams to see all of their purchase orders in a list. They can select those POs and then start scanning in their goods. We do also have a nice article that shows some screenshots in the process of our WMS. So if you're curious about that, we can also send that over too. Last step here, invoicing. We call it an invoice. Typically, QB over Zero calls it a bill. Just a little bit different syntax there, but it's the same thing. Once we invoice, put an invoice number and invoice date in the core system and authorize this tab, that's the trigger for this to head up to QuickBooks Online or Xero, your accounting system. What that really enables is lack of double entry. We're not going to make you put this in our system and put it in your accounting system. We want you to put it one place, mark that it's been invoiced, have it auto sync over. We do have some great, I keep plugging our documents here. We've got some great documents about how we work with accounting. What do we send over to QuickBooks? What gets sent over to our system? So if you're thinking right now, great, I would love to connect QuickBooks, but there's so much involved. How do I even know where to start? We can get you some documents there as well. All right, moving out of purchase orders. A couple notes here that are general over all of our transactions. We've got sections for attachments. If you ever need to upload documents, anything for reference to a transaction, you can do that here. And then we always keep logs of what's going on in the system. Since we are user-based, you can always see who has done what when within the system. We do have a full audit report as well, if you would like to get some more details by user or by action. So we've purchased in some goods here. We've authorized our order, possibly sent out an email or printed our PO. These documents are customizable, by the way. We've received in our stock either through the back end or through an app, and we've invoiced over to our accounting system. From here, since we've got some stock on hand, if we produce goods at this point, we could take a tackle at making those raw materials into finished goods. Due to our time today, I'm going to keep it pretty high level, but of course, if you're curious about our manufacturing options, please feel free to reach out to our teams. We would love to take you through some full demos of the manufacturing options that we offer. I'm just going to pull out this production section here and talk high level about it. We have a couple options for production. One that's more simple, one that we call advanced manufacturing. More simple option we call assemblies. This is what goes in, what comes out. Very simply, all of our SKUs, quantities, and costs go in, and then we get finished goods out at cost, some stock on hand for those. Tends to be pretty simple, and we use that for bundling as well. So when we're taking component items, maybe wrapping them up into one finished variety pack that we can sell, we would use that there as well. Tends to be pretty simple, but it really does give us visibility into the inventory and costs that are used during production. And then, of course, gives us a very accurate cost for our finished goods since we're using the exact cost of those components. Whew, lots of words when it comes to manufacturing. I hope I'm not losing anyone. That's our more simple side. What goes in, what comes out. Pretty easy to set up and use. We've also got our advanced manufacturing side, which is more of how do these things happen as opposed to just what. We're still accounting for what goes in, what comes out. We do have some additional functions here like time tracking. How long should it take for us to complete this production order, as well as each of the steps in between? Operational steps, so we can track what's step one. Before we move to step two, what do we have to do? What's step three? What's step four? Do we do some quality check perhaps? So breaking out some of those operational steps and then doing some capacity calculation as well. If you have people and machines whose time you want to track and who you want to consider when it comes to things like scheduling those production jobs, we can account for those as well. I could ramble on about advanced manufacturing for an hour. And if you book a demo with us, you might just get that. Lots of options there when it comes to advanced manufacturing. We really want to give you visibility into that production process, into things like how long is it taking, what's our wastage, what's our costing, so that you can make better decisions when it comes to production and planning. Last note here for production, we do account for contract manufacturing. So if you use a co-man, maybe you want to track what stock they have in their location for raw materials and finished goods. You want to track what they produce for you and then how much they charge you for labor. Very common workflow in our system. Definitely something we can account for. Quite a bit of options for production there. Going to check Q&A before we head over into sales. Looks like we're all caught up. All right, beautiful. We've got about 6 minutes left, so I'm going to finish out talking about some of our sales processes, and then lastly, some reporting so you can get a glimpse into that. When it comes to sales here, lots of fun options that we can automate for you. Starting off on the simple side, you might get phone or email orders that you have to manually input into a system. It might be your QuickBooks system, it might be a current system. We can input those sales into Cin7. We mentioned that we will track your customers, track price tiers against them so they get the correct pricing. We also track things like discounts and price breaks. If your customers order 10, do they get a discount? If they order 20, do they get a discount? So lots of those things that we can set up if you'd like to use our platform for ordering, either entering those, filling out a form, or importing via CSV. Something exciting we've recently released is IDR, Intelligent Document Recognition. So if you'd like to just take the order that your customer gives you, plug it into the system, we can identify the fields and map it into a sales order for you. Makes it a lot easier than having to go type in all those details based off of the customer invoice yourself. So some manual ways to get information into the system. We also did mention the wealth of integrations that we have. Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, eBay tend to be very popular. We've got a few more in there as well. BigCommerce, WooCommerce. If you're unsure, reach out to our teams. We can verify if we've got those connections. Lots of ways that we can connect over e-commerce. All of those are very simple. Click to connect, and then our team will guide you on setting those up. We do have quite a few implementation options. So if we're going through the demo and you're like, this is all great, how am I going to get this set up? Where am I going to find the time and the information to make sure all of this is correct? We've got some stellar implementation options for you, depending on your needs, whether you're very comfortable with inventory management and SaaS platforms, you don't need much help, or if you would like quite a bit of help, one-on-one with someone from our team. We even have partners who can come on site if you'd really like some of that further, more robust implementation. So when we're talking about setting up those e-commerce connections, don't worry about setting it up. We have help for you there. We also have some options when it comes to EDI. We do connect with SPS Commerce. They tend to be our most popular EDI provider if you'd like to enable some transactions with retailers. And then we also do offer a B2B site. For some of those smaller wholesalers, maybe not on EDI yet, we host our own B2B site using the product information, customer information in the system. That gives them a portal that they can log into. They can submit their own orders from there. Kind of saves your team some time of having to take orders over the phone, over email, and we can have things like notifications when those come in, so your team can make sure to review those. Quite a bit we've talked about with sales, right? Lots of ways that we can funnel in those sales into our system. Really big benefit there of us being sort of order management here is you get reporting on all of your sales channels at once. Same with forecasting. So when we want to tell you what to purchase, we can do it by channel, by location, by product. So giving us lots of good reporting options there as well. So we know our sales are coming in from various sources. How do we get the stock out now once the sale's in the system? Again, quite a few options. We can use something like a 3PL connection. We've got various ways we can connect to 3PLs. That's pretty popular these days. We also do have shipping connections like ShipStation, Ship Theory. If you do your own internal fulfillment and need those parcel labels printed out, either through our system or if you're already working with a ShipStation, you can continue doing that. We also do have a WMS. So we mentioned on the receiving side, if you want to use our app to scan goods in, we have that for picking and packing as well. If you'd like to use our app to scan, to pick, pack, and ship goods, can absolutely do that. So quite a few avenues when it comes to getting the goods out. A great thing is you can come to our team. Here's our e-commerce connections. Here's our sales channels. Here's all of our shipping channels. And we will work with you to make sure that your workflow fits into the system and that we can get you a demo that's really relevant to the connections that you're dealing with. Nice overview there on sales. Don't need to go into the order very much. I will note all of this information, just like purchasing, heads over to your accounting system. We can consolidate these orders daily. Accountants usually like to hear that. We can send over individual orders, kind of up to you there. To finish out, we'll talk about reporting. We've got about a minute and a half left. We've talked about quite a bit in today's demo, from products all the way through purchasing, production, and sales. We want to give you access to that data at any time. So we've got a full reporting suite here, are separated out by module. It's tough to find reports that you would need that we don't offer. One of the reasons is these are set up in pivot tables. So it usually works to get a base of the reports that we have, come in, do some pivot arrangements when it comes to these reports, get it to look how you would like it to look, and then maybe do some exporting, take it to Excel, wherever you'd like to do some of that data manipulation. As we can see here, I can take and move those pivots. If you've got any really specific reports you're curious if we cover, feel free to send those over when you reach out to our team. I can always verify if we store those in the system. 99% of the time we do. All right. Thank you, all of my participants, for sticking with me, listening to my voice for about 30 minutes straight now. We've covered quite a bit today when it comes to inventory management. How can Cin7 help you? If you are curious, like we mentioned, please feel free to reach out to our team. We will get a follow-up email that's sent out with the webinar recording with some helpful links if you'd like to reach out to us. If you need to share that recording with your team, please feel free to do so. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate you taking the time to join. Any questions, please feel free to send those over, and I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.